Okay, since you're interested in the four elements of reciprocation, I'm going to skip right to the episode that you already saw, and it was about reciprocation, but probably because you didn't expect it, so you didn't pay attention. But let's watch that again.
Okay.
Until you know how to practice the art of saying no, you don't know how to practice focusing for the things that you're trying to concentrate on.
That's deep. That's deep.
The reason why you heard a long pause, a big silence from me before you said that's deep, because I was practicing respect of reciprocation. When I finish my disclosure, I must always keep my mouth shut and understand that the next three steps are for the listener to do, not for me to do. If I felt like I was winning an argument and go on and on and on and on, then I would be interfering with the conversation, wasting your time and my time. Because I understand that the second step of reciprocation is comprehension. You were trying to comprehend what I disclosed. That's why you didn't say anything. You were trying to work the second step in your head. And because I understood that, that's why I went along with your silence and not interfere with the second step. And then after you comprehend, you do the third step as the listener. You did the third step. The third step is consideration. That step is also done in your head. And that's why the silence is even longer. The silence was so long because you had to do two steps at once inside your mind. It took you only a second to wrap up the cycle of communication with only one word or a short sentence. That's deep. That step is called acknowledgement. Until I hear your acknowledgement, the communication cycle was incomplete. And that's why I had to refrain myself from saying anything so that you have a chance to finish the last three steps of reciprocation. And as soon as you acknowledge that's deep, then I can jump in and disclose what you've just heard. It's a new thing. So, do you see how I display respect every minute in this conversation and thus in my life?
Yeah. Sure did. Yeah.
The risk of practicing this kind of respect to the max is that at my age, you tend to forget where the conversation was going.
You're funny.
But it's not, it may be embarrassing, but it's not unacceptable for me to ask you, where were we? I rather feel embarrassed than to be disrespectful.
What made you train yourself to this point? Or how did you get to this point?
Because I have the knowledge from the book.
You wrote the book.
Exactly. And it's like English. I see that for the rest of my life. I will never be able to master this knowledge. It's like English because it is language. It is a language. Thumoslang, Thumos, Thumos language, but we shorten it to refer to it as Thumoslang. So Thumoslang is not a philosophy; it's a language. It's a nomenclature. Do you know what nomenclature means?
Like naming of things?
Naming system. If you want to become an engineer, you need to understand how to. If you want to become an engineer, you need to understand how to use the nomenclature of engineering. What do you call this in that engine? What do you call this in the other engine? If you don't understand the nomenclature, you cannot become an expert in that subject.
So use personal training as an example. So give me an example of the same instance. Give me a nomenclature. You mean like the body parts? Like, what do you mean? Give me an example. How does that
Focus.
apply?
That means say no. That is a thumbnail definition. You know what a thumbnail is? When you look on YouTube, you browse the list of videos. Each image on that list is a thumbnail to give you a sneak preview of what's in the video. That's a thumbnail.
Oh.
And a thumbnail definition. Thumbnail, that means a short definition using Thumoslang syntax. So thumbnail is a definition that begins with 3 words, the name of the concept, and then that means, and then 2 or 3 words to define. So that syntax is called a thumbnail syntax. So when I say focus, that means say no. I gave you a thumbnail definition of what focus means. And Thumoslang has 5, as of now, 500 or 600 of these thumbnail definitions. Only a third of them are in the book. The 2/3 are not yet in the first book. And Thumoslang is a nomenclature for relationships. In fact, in Thumoslang, here's another thumbnail definition. Thumos That means master of relationships. If you want to become a master of relationship, you need to speak Thumoslang. That is a nomenclature of in mastering relationships. And the reason why you're coming back to me, because I don't waste your time, because I speak the nomenclature that you can see what I'm saying quickly without rambling. So, and that's why you feel like you can get what you need from me in a hurry every time. And the reason is because everything I say has a definition, and it's not what it means to me, but what it means universally to everyone in every context. Did I answer your question?
You sure did. So, in regards to business, like I told you, I'm a personal trainer. How do you, or how can I get a system running?
That's a loaded question. That's a loaded question. A loaded question means that you package a dozen questions into one. So it's very difficult to answer.
Okay, let me backtrack that. As a new entrepreneur, as a young entrepreneur, right? How do you
That's the end.
Yep, because it's no longer about reciprocation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We what were the 4 elements? Like I have, okay, I'm gonna write them down.
Disclosure.
Yeah. And then comprehension.
And number 3 is consideration. And then acknowledgement. The first step is carried out by the speaker, the last 3 by the listener.
And so, how do you best? I'm about to ask you a loaded question. What's the next video on?
Let's focus on this video first. Your feedback.
Okay. I want to go deeper into the reciprocation system. Is what I'm feeling. I feel like I understand the basic points, you know, disclosure being the speaker explaining whatever the problem or the situation is. And then comprehension is pausing and maybe asking questions if you need to understand what it is that they just said. Consideration is taking what the information they just gave you, seeing how you can use it and what you can offer.
Not yet.
No? Then what is consideration?
You compare the new information with your memory bank.
So you focus on just
You're weighing the values of the new information versus the old one. Mm-hmm. Is there a conflict?
Mm-hmm. If there is a conflict,
then you may not agree with the new information. That's where disagreement comes in.
Okay. And acknowledgement is if you do agree.
No, acknowledgement is not about agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Acknowledgement is about letting the speaker know that you did all the 3 steps
So
and you're ready for more.
So acknowledgement is saying that I listened to what you said. I clarified so I understood it perfectly. I looked at how it impacts me, and now
Even though I did not disclose to you my decision on the new information yet.
Could you give me an example of someone going through this, of like a situation, like, so I guess I could use my sales thing as an example. I will, at the beginning of a demo, ask them what they like to cook at home, or what they might have trouble cutting, right? And then they'll tell me, oh, I cut a lot of squash, or watermelon, or we're pretty vegetarian, so we just do a lot of chopping, right? And then, so that's their disclosure, right? So what I would next do is go into comprehension, which is asking for clarification if I need it, like how often they might find themselves cooking, how much they like doing it, and then I would consider it by looking at, in my mind, what is useful to them in my the products that I can offer.
That applies to their story.
Specifically to them.
There you go.
That's consideration. So seeing what,
before you verbally state what you consider.
Mm-hmm. And what would that be in this place? Because I'm trying to see the acknowledgement. You said is the acknowledgement moving the conversation forwards, or asking them to give me more information?
It can be the combination of both. In a normal conversation, acknowledgement is by implication when I make the next disclosure, and I become a speaker instead of a listener.
So when I get to acknowledgement, that's when it's my turn to be the speaker.
That's right. So I can acknowledge and speak at the same time. And because I start speaking, that's how I acknowledge that the previous cycle was complete. So, but if you disagree with me, stop me before I start my first paragraph. But as soon as I finish my first sentence and into the second sentence, then your interruption would be considered disrespectful.
And the so in this place where they said that that they really liked this and this, like they liked to cut whatever, my acknowledgement would be pointing towards that and saying, hey, I see that you like doing this. I'm just gonna come up with one. Hey, so you said you really like cutting watermelon. I also really like watermelon because it's really tasty. And this knife is really good for doing that because of this and this and this. I just don't understand what acknowledgement is.
I think that viewers feel lost right now because the example is not a specific example. There's so many generic situations. Maybe if you would recall a very short but specific example, then viewers and I can follow along.
Okay. My thing is though, I just don't understand what acknowledgement sounds like.
In the last two videos, you saw many acknowledgements expressed by a very quick reaction, like, I like that. That's an acknowledgement. Or that's deep. That was an acknowledgement from him, the boxer, to what I had to say.
And
But he did not acknowledge right off the bat.
because he had to do the other steps.
That's why sometimes there was a long silence after I spoke, and he thought about it, and then he reacted.
Okay. I think I understand that. The so with acknowledgement, it can either go to you speaking now, or it can continue whatever they were saying.
They can do the next disclosure.
But no matter what, this is always how communication works.
Yes. If you want to have consequential conversation.
If you want your conversation to mean something or to go forward with a purpose.
Yes. Because with beer talk, interruption is welcome anytime. Because the point is not consequence, but
to be funny.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. I like that. I see that yesterday I was at like a party, and I saw a lot of that feeling that you were just saying, where like we were all talking like in a group, and then it was just about making whatever the situation was funny, and so everybody would kind of chime in with their bit to add to the joke, and then their thing, and then their thing, and sometimes one person would have like a really long or like a entertaining thing that was multi-part, and then we'd all like get into it and listen to it and then move back to the next, like, so it was a lot of very high energy, right? So there are a lot of different types of conversation that can happen, like is what it sounds like there's beer talk, but there's also consequential.
There are only two.
Only those two?
Consequential or not.
You're right. That's straightforward. That makes it things that makes things easier. Non-consequential conversation is what people like for entertainment, and then consequential can kind of weigh you down a little if it's too much.
Depends on your perspective. Entertainment may be fun for the audience, but consequential for the person who delivers.
That because of the like if you're a stand-up comedian.
Exactly.
Right.
Or just a normal friend. If your joke sucks.
If your joke sucks, no one wants to hear them. Right.
If it sucks once, no problems. Twice, not so bad. But if you have a reputation for sucky jokes,
no one's gonna listen.
Nobody wants to invite you to that party.
Why is this person even around?
Exactly.
I see. All right.
So
yeah.
So it depends on the perspective of the person involved. So the same conversation may not be consequential to you, but it may be extremely consequential to a members of your group. And if you're not able to detect that, That's when disrespect comes in without anyone realizing it except the victim.
The person who made the mistake.
The victim.
Yeah.
Not the person who makes the mistakes, but the person who feel really bad about what's being said.
Yeah, like dark humor. Dark humor can cause issues like that. Like if something gets said about an event that was very bad for a certain demographic, in a humorous way, it can be very entertaining unless people of that demographic are nearby and they take personal offense. Right? Yeah. I feel ready for the next thing.
Okay, so so far, what do you think of Thumoslang?
So far, it seems like a very effective nomenclature. And it's the type of thing that like the more I hear, the more I want to learn. So I'm like trying to soak up as much as possible.
Very good.